Welcome to the Vision and Purpose podcast, where we dive deep into the lives of incredible people who have made a mark on the world. Join us as we explore the journeys, stories, and passions of individuals who have achieved extraordinary feats, shattered barriers, and inspired us all. And now your host, Dr. Sharon H. Porter. Hello, and welcome to Vision and Purpose Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Sharon H. Porter. Get ready to explore the vibrant world of creativity and talent as we welcome a true artistic trailblazer to our podcast. She's an accomplished singer, a composer, and visual artist. But that's just scratching the surface. We are excited to welcome the remarkable Nia Imani Franklin, singer, composer, artist, Miss America 2019, and more to the Vision and Purpose podcast. I'm so excited. Welcome, Miss Nia Imani Franklin.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. You know, my first name actually means purpose. So.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So you're destined to be here.
Destiny.
I love it. I love it. It's such an honor to be able to doing this interview, and we want to learn a little more about you.
Absolutely.
I'm really excited about that. Absolutely. And we were so fortunate to cover your recent performance with the Winston-Salem Symphony. Your talent in opera is remarkable. Oh my God, I was blown away. How did you discover your passion for this art form, and how has it influenced your creative journey?
So I grew up singing in church very young, had my first big solo when I was like 4 or 5, and grew up singing in the choir. And it wasn't until I got to high school that I decided to join chorus, which is different than choir. Like gospel choir is it was a whole different world for me, like sitting there and like reading the notes, because in church you have the hymn books, but I'm not listening to it, like looking at the notes. I just know it because I've heard it and I know how Amazing Grace goes, or I know how At the Cross goes. But in choir class, we actually had to be reading the music. And so that was a whole new experience for me, and I just fell in love with it. And that was when I started to really dive deeper into classical music, listening to Mozart. I'll never forget listening to Rondo alla Turca by Mozart, piano piece, and I was just enthralled with it. And my love for that grew even more. And so one day we were watching a documentary about Shrek the Musical, and it was about the behind the scenes of the composing process for the music. And that was when I decided I have to go to school for music. I have to be a composer. And in order to do that, I went and did my research, and pretty much all the schools for music in North Carolina, you have to audition on an instrument. I had some piano training and I play piano by ear, but I felt most comfortable auditioning with voice because I was a singer. And so I decided, okay, I have about 1.5 years to get my voice ready for auditions. And you have to audition in the classical style, so the operatic style. And so I started taking basically private voice lessons, learning different classical pieces, and that was basically the start of my journey. And it's really taught me to have a strong work ethic, because it wasn't easy, and it wasn't an easy process, but I'm here today all because of a choice that I made to follow this path.
Wow, that's amazing. It's a testament to also to, really knowing what you want and going after it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I love that. And so let's talk about your journey to becoming Miss America. I mean, it was multifaceted, actually. I mean, from your musical talents to your advocacy for the arts. Can you share some of the pivotal moments that shaped your path to where you are today?
Definitely. So the first would be the influence of my mother, who is my biggest cheerleader, and she always told me that I should do pageants. This is probably when I was in college. She started saying this to me, and I was just like, oh, I'm not paying her any attention. And I ended up doing a small pageant on campus, but it was, kind of a local thing, just a college thing. Didn't really think much of it. I did win, but it was a great opportunity, and I was so happy that I wanted something to be more social, because I was always buried in my books in school. So it was something for me to just get outside of my comfort zone of feeling like I always had to be studying, because you have to have some fun in college. So it wasn't until I got to grad school I decided I would compete for Miss America. And so to start that journey, you have to first win a local title. And I competed for a couple different local titles and didn't win. And then finally won Miss Capital City on my third try and ended up going to Miss North Carolina that summer. Worked really hard, reading all the current events, going to the gym, booking myself for as many community events as I could, but I made the top 10 and did not win. And so I ended up competing another year, didn't win, and then moved to New York. And I had actually aged out of the program, but by 1 year. But that for some reason, I believe it was God and a miracle. They increased the age limit by 1 year when I had moved to New York. And I was like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I've worked, I've already, moved on with my life. And so at the last second, I decided I would compete for the last local left in New York. There was only one more local competition left, Miss Five Boroughs. And they were giving out 4 titles that night. One of them was Miss Five Boroughs. And so it was like 20 girls competing. And I got one of the titles, Miss Five Boroughs, and ended up going to Miss New York about 6 weeks later, 7 weeks later, and won. And then with Miss America, I was just having fun. I decided I'm taking the pressure off. Like, I'm going to work extremely hard for this, but I'm going to take the pressure off and just whatever the plan is, whatever God's plan is what's going to be what it's going to be. And ended up winning Miss America that night. So it was definitely a roller coaster to get there. But yeah, it's another testament to really not giving up on your dreams, even though you may want to. You never know what can happen if you just try one more time. And so that's just life. Sometimes things, you don't get everything, you don't get the job, whatever it is that you're going after, but you can't just give up. If there's something you want, you'll get it. And it may not be the way you think you're going to get it. I certainly never thought I would be Miss New York. Growing up living in Winston-Salem, I never thought that would happen.
Wow.
So it's such an honor, and I'm never taking it lightly that that path went the way that it went for me.
Wow, amazing. And you're right, divine intervention, increasing that by 1 year. Like that's so
1 year.
amazing. Oh my God, I love that. Now, many people see beauty pageants as primarily focused on appearance. How do you
Yes.
challenge this stereotype? And what do you believe are the most significant aspects of the Miss America organization beyond the surface?
Yeah, absolutely. So the year I won was actually a pivotal year in the organization's history because they decided that they were no longer going to judge based on appearance. They made that very clear. And I think that was always kind of an unspoken ideal in the Miss America system because they're based on scholarship. They were founded as a beauty competition in Atlantic City, but they've evolved. And so, they give away, they're the largest provider of scholarships to young women. And so that was always an unspoken thing, but they really wanted to make it clear with me being the first Miss America 2.0 that they wanted to really focus on the inner person. And that is how I challenge it because it certainly is true for me. I think beauty is an eye of the beholder, and truly, I don't think you can judge 51 different women solely on beauty and find a winner. Because if that were the case, everyone would win. Even in other pageant systems, such as Miss USA, everybody is gorgeous. How do you choose? You have to look beyond just the surface to find that winner. And so it truly is about finding a woman who not only knows how to be polished and put together and a role model. I think appearance is something we obviously, they say dress to impress. You don't just roll out of bed and go to work. Like, you have to put some effort in there. But beyond that, what are your values? What do you want to bring to the table as that title holder? What are you going to do with your year of service? You only get 1 year and it's gone. What are you going to do? What kind of impact do you want to make? And so you should already be doing those things before you even step into the role of Miss America. Before you step into the role of Miss New York, you should already be being that leader. You don't need a crown or a sash to do that. And so that's what I really stress to young women. I don't have a crown and a sash anymore. I go out and I'm just Nia. So it really is important that you have that confidence and that poise and that compassion for others, no matter if you have a sash on or not.
I really love that. I really do. And just the fact, the notation of you don't need a sash and a crown to be great,
No,
basically. And I love that. And people need to know that.
no.
They need to know that because
Mhm.
we get caught up a lot of times in titles. But it's not about the title.
We do, we do.
The work that we put in
Yes.
is what counts. I love that. So there are so many people, young people, that really look up to you, like, a role model for them. Who are some figures that have inspired you or influenced
Mhm.
you along your journey? And also, what lessons have you learned from them?
Absolutely. Well, I know I brought up my mom earlier, and I think a lot of people would say their mother. And for me, it's her because when I was in college, my dad was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma T cell cancer. And he was diagnosed with that my freshman year of college. I was 3 hours away from home, which when you are so close to your family and I lived in the same city my whole life. 3 hours is kind of a big deal, and my mom and she didn't really want me to go that far away, actually. She was like, you can be a 2 hour radius. And I was like, well, this is the school I really want to go to. So I went to East Carolina University. And that fall, my dad fell ill. And I watched my mom raise my younger sister and brother by herself during that time period. And also, she went back to school to get her master's degree during that time period. She's an educator. So I really look up to her for her strength and her willingness to just hold it down, be a provider. And so many other people look up to her as well. Her faith, she really carried my dad through that point in his life. So I truly look up to her for her strength and how she just carries herself. She really has taught me about how to respect myself, how to not just let people talk about you any kind of way or say things to you and you don't say things back. Really, she taught me the importance of standing up for yourself, and so she just really is that role model for me. I also really look up to people such as Lantine Price, a great American soprano who really opened doors and paved the way for so many sopranos that are Black women. And so I really look up to figures such as her as well.
Wow, I love that. Love it, love it. Now, given your experience, and your expertise, how do you envision the future of the arts, particularly in terms of accessibility, diversity, and innovation?
Absolutely. I envision the future being very bright. I am so impressed with my peers who are composers, performers, um, activists, because we all really understand the importance of that inclusion. It's so important that we see the audiences of our symphonies, of our opera houses, of our playhouses. Those audiences should reflect the communities that they support and that support them. So I really believe that when you have people in administrative positions as well as artistic positions that are placing value on marketing to different groups. Sometimes you have the same groups that are marketed to or the same groups in your email list, but getting out there and really making a difference in the community by sometimes also not having things at your normal facility that you may have things at. I love that the Winston-Salem Symphony gets out into the community, for example. They go and do concerts in downtown Winston. I think that's really special. And a lot of orchestras now too are doing parks concerts. So I know Dallas Symphony, they will have park concerts in the summer so people that maybe don't feel like they can go to an opera house or they can go to a symphony house, they can experience something like the symphony for the first time outdoors at a park in the summertime. I think that's really great, and more initiatives like this should be happening. And also, inclusion and diversity, I don't think it happens by accident. I think it has to be intentional. There are so many underrepresented groups who simply just have not had these same opportunities as people who may have come from certain families who may just have better connections. And so it's really important to be intentional about supporting voices that are not amplified, especially those of African Americans, for example. It wasn't until I was out of school that I even learned about composers such as Florence Price, who was the first African American woman composer to have her work played by a major orchestra, or composers such as Joseph Blown, who was also a chevalier. He was a fencer. And so I didn't learn about him in school, but he was writing music at the same time as Mozart. And so I'm a big history lover, and I think it's important that this history is more amplified. Again, I have to brag on the Winston-Salem Symphony. They programmed music by Joseph Boulogne this season, as well as last season. They collaborated with an arts organization and brought some of Joseph's music to the stage. And so that, for some people, maybe their first time hearing about a composer like that, and it's so important. I wish that I would have been exposed to more African-American composers at a younger age. So it's really important. And so I commend people who are doing that work already. For me, I mean, I remember listening to music by Jeffrey Ames. He's an American composer, and he was actually the clinician conductor when I was in high school for the North Carolina Honors Chorus. And so we worked with him, and we actually sang 2 pieces by him. He was mainly does choral music. And so it's really important that those voices are heard and are amplified. And that will certainly give way to that innovation and that inclusiveness that we really desperately want to continue to see more and more of in the classical music industry.
Absolutely. And you really are an advocate for arts education, which I love. I am an educator by profession, and the arts in integrating that is so important. But what inspired you to champion this cause, and what impact do you hope to achieve through this advocacy work?
Yeah, so I've always been in the arts and exposed to the arts. And so I realized I'm really privileged. I'm really blessed to have even had the exposure that I did to the arts through my church, singing on the choir. A lot of people, their parents just may not take them to church. They're not getting even that simple community music experience. Or the fact that my church had a summer arts camp growing up that I actually ended up being a camp counselor at for a couple of years. And then, of course, going on to have a school where music was included in the curriculum. Some schools, their budgets are cut and they don't have music, or they don't have band or dance or even visual arts. And so I recognize that I'm so blessed to have had that opportunity. When I think of children who don't have that opportunity, it really just breaks my heart. And so that was what made me decide to champion that cause through the Miss America organization and through my own personal platform too, because I recognized what the arts did for me. When I was going to school at a predominantly white school, I didn't feel really connected culturally to the school. I felt like an outsider. And so music and the arts was what kind of kept me focused and kept me, thinking one day I'll be around people who are like me, who are just as passionate about music as me. And thankfully that happened when I went to college, but I didn't really have that experience in high school. So I'm really grateful that I had music class and that I had other mentors and teachers who encouraged me. And so I think it's really important to understand how the arts can really transform a person's life. And I will never not talk about the importance of that, because it is so crucial for children who you just don't know what they're going home to sometimes even. And so to have an instructor in that hour-long class once a week or once a day in class that they can go and unwind in and find a connection to something that can really pull them through. And so it's just so important. Graduation rates are higher with schools that have music education, SAT scores. The lists go on and on, truly. So it's really important, and I'm glad that I've seen a lot of other pageant winners championing the same cause of the arts. So it's really, really heartwarming to see that as well.
It is. It's so, so very important for our young people.
Yes.
Just from firsthand experience, definitely. So beyond your achievements in the arts and pageantry, what are some personal values or principles that guide your life and your work?
Absolutely. Well, number one, I am just such a big advocate for standing up for yourself. And I think as women in any industry and as people of color, we really have to respect ourselves enough to say no. It's okay to say no. That is something that in the last probably 3 to 4 years that I've really started to understand. You don't have to say yes to everything. It could even be just things that don't align with your values. It's okay to say no. And I really practice what I preach when it comes to that. And also just being that role model. Those are values that are really important to me. Doing the best that I can to give back to the community, to use people and uplift people as I am uplifted. So I really try to support when I can and continue to, like you said, try to be that role model. No one's perfect, but I really I learn from my mistakes as well. So I am really grateful for all the opportunities that I've gotten that have brought me where I am right now.
I love it. So, Miss Franklin, how can our listeners and our viewers stay abreast of everything that you have going on? How can they connect? How can they listen to your music? Just share everything, all your ways of connection.
Yes, well, I'm on TikTok and Instagram as Nia Imani Franklin, my full name. And I'm also on Facebook. And I have a website, which is niaimani.com. So you can check me out there. Also, I'm going to be dropping my vlog and sharing all of my memories from my latest trip to Paris soon on my YouTube channel. So look out for that as well. I have a lot of content and behind the scenes stuff that I haven't shared yet that I want to share from that trip. It was really special and um, such a kind of a pivotal moment in my career thus far. So I was actually named the inaugural composer in residence for the American Library in Paris, and so that was a wonderful 2-week trip, and I can't wait to be back soon. So I can't wait to get that vlog out, that video diary from the trip.
Wow, congratulations. I tell
Thank
you,
you.
so many accomplishments. You just do not know the pride that I feel
Oh,
coming from someone from my hometown. So
yes, the
yes, it's just
hometown.
it is just pride like none other. And so I'm just so excited for all of your accomplishments, everything that's in store for you. You were phenomenal, and I just want to say thank you. It was a pleasure seeing you perform. It's a pleasure having you as my guest for this episode. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. I'm so appreciative, and this has been such a pleasure to talk with you.
Oh, thank you so much. And guys, we want to thank you as well, all of our listeners and our viewers. We just want to say thank you for joining us for this wonderful episode. And thank you for helping us explore the depths of our guest's vision and purpose. Your vision is the compass that guides you through life, and your purpose is the fuel that propels you forward. Keep dreaming, keep believing, and keep pursuing your purpose. Every step you take brings you closer to the fulfillment of that purpose. I am your host, Dr. Sharon H. Porter, and until next time, live life with vision and purpose. Thank you for joining another episode of Vision and Purpose Podcast. Please share, like, and subscribe. Please join us every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time.